Hey folks, today we are taking a look at the Hatsukokoro Kurokaze Gyuto in 215 millimeters. If you've watched our videos for any length of time, you will know that we both have our own favorites, and the Kurokaze is a long-standing favorite of mine. Now, with that being said, this is the new version. The older version had some more height at the heel and a slight downward pitch to the blade. If I have a picture, I will pop it up now. If not, you'll have to take my word for it. These guys are made out of Shirigami No. 2, which is super easy to sharpen. Probably like my favorite steel now that I'm a home cook. When I was working professionally, I like blue steel, Origami Super. Now that I'm a home cook, this stays sharp long enough, and it's super fun to sharpen. Stainless cladding on these guys, Kurouchi finish. These guys have a nice taper to them, so they're really nice and thick and comfy out of the tang, and then taper nice towards the tip. Not like super duper thin, but still thin enough to have a good tip performance and be really comfortable against like the pad of your finger in a pinch grip. Bring the Hasegawa in for contrast, and then for the choil, you can see still really thin behind the edge, but definitely what I would consider like a workhorse grind that just zeroes out really nicely. These guys feel great on harder ingredients. Some more detail shots before we get into the chopping. The kanji is really nice on these guys, hand done, and you can see like the individual strikes that they make throughout the lines. Really pretty, and I've always been a sucker for a pretty kanji. The balance point on these guys is a little bit blade forward, but right about where you're going to want it for a pinch grip. And then the handle on these guys, if that wants to focus, Fuji Kaman, we have a Wenge octagonal handle with a buffalo horn barrel. So without any further ado, let's get into some knife work. We got some watermelon, we got a big cabbage, we got some peppers, a sweet potato, an onion I'm going to cut up to make some pickled onions. Yeah, let's get started. All right, so getting started with the peppers here. Now, bell peppers, admittedly, not usually one of my favorite ingredients, but I am doing meal prep for myself. The other week when we did the video and I had the julienne sweet potato and bell pepper, ended up sauteing it as like a bit of a hash and then putting some eggs on top. And I am a creature of habit, and I've had that for breakfast almost every day for the last week and a half. So I'm going to keep doing that until it gives me the ick. But this isn't the true out-of-the-box edge because we have used this knife for some videos and we've touched it up before. That being said, the ones that I have used from this line all come screaming sharp, and if any knives that we get in the shop don't come screaming sharp, we always touch them up before we send them out. So you never have to worry about that. But from a fairness perspective, these guys always come nice and sharp out of the box from the shop. That felt great. This guy is definitely flatter than the old one was. The old one was kind of like pitched up and had a dropped heel, but this is still a little bit flatter, a nice flat spot on this guy. Which I'm not getting any like little stuck together bits on the peppers, which is really nice. And like I said, these guys are Shirigami, which I am a very big fan of now that I am a home cook because it stays sharp, you know, more than long enough for me. And then it's super easy to touch up. These guys are a dream to sharpen. Wouldn't want to waste this. Ooh! Yeah, that felt lovely. And continues to feel lovely. Okay, now we're out of pepper. Cool. Get rid of my bits and bobs here. You guys always ask what we do with the food. Don't throw it out, I do eat it. Like I said, the sweet potato, which I will do next, and those peppers are gonna get julienne and then sauteed kind of in a hash, maybe like some turmeric, maybe a bit of garam masala, I don't know, if I'm feeling frisky. Use rare. All right, so it's like a little sticky. I mean, I am taking very long sheets off of a sweet potato, which is a very difficult task for any knife. One thing, like I said, these guys are flatter. This is a pretty tall pile. This is probably taller than I would like ever rock over myself, but we'll give it a test. Sharp, it's biting into the board. Yeah, that for me is a little too high to rock with this guy. Doesn't feel particularly intuitive, so that's a bit much. Maybe if I do, let's see, half of these guys. Yeah, about a centimeter. Yeah, that feels more reasonable to rock over these guys. They are definitely not the rockiest knives, which admittedly is probably part of why I like them, because I tend to push cut almost everything that I do. I'm not a huge fan of rocking unless I'm doing like herbs or something really, really tiny. I'll push cut every time I've given the chance. That being said, that flat spot on a push cutting task like this feels real nice. Yeah, that felt great. I'm gonna mix these in with the peppers again. I'm gonna cook them at the same time. Sweet potatoes take longer to cook than peppers. I know, but I don't want to waste bags, so don't yell at me. A couple more here. Like, as far as the stickage, like, things aren't falling freely off of it, but it's not like nothing's suctioning really on there, which is nice. These ones I'll cut up a little bit bigger. Call the cops. They're all going to the same place. There we go. Yeah, like on the little thin stuff, like the rocking's not bad. It's still definitely more of a push cutting knife, but you certainly can with it. That being said, the old ones definitely were a little bit rockier than these ones. But yeah, sweet potatoes, grind felt fantastic. Peppers, the edge feels great. Of course, that's not like a super fair test because, like I said, we did touch this guy up. We've used it for a couple of videos, but that all felt really good. Let's shred up a whole bunch of coleslaw. I'm gonna take off the outside leaves here. Some of these are looking a little janky. Time for some shredded cabbage. I'm actually gonna take a little bit more off. Call the cops. All right, here it is, moment of truth. That was nice. I'm only gonna do half now because I am only one person and I can only eat so much coleslaw. All right, let's see here. You're thinking, yes, I could absolutely do this on a mandolin, but that would not be anywhere near as much fun. Again, the push cut profile for larger ingredients on this guy feels really, really nice. I'm not noticing as big of a difference between this one and the older version that's like got the higher heel on it, if I'm being completely honest. Like, they both feel great in hand. Not noticing too much of a difference. Get another bag going here. My coleslaw mix. I'm probably gonna do a yogurt-based dressing for these guys that I learned in an old restaurant that I worked at. You take your yogurt and you strain it, so I guess you're essentially making labneh, but you can control how thick it is. And like some garlic powder, dried cranberries, gonna be tasty. What kind of coleslaw do you guys like? Vinegar or mayonnaise? Oh, almost hurt myself, got caught up thinking about the mayonnaise. All right, Yeah, that felt great. I'm really not noticing that big of a difference between this one and the older one. If I'm being super honest with you, I thought I was gonna like this less because I usually prefer a taller blade. Not that this guy's like super duper shallow or anything, you know, it's probably still like 40, 45 mil high. Yeah, no, it's feeling great going through all of the larger ingredients. I definitely feel like I have enough knuckle clearance. I'm a big guy, I've got big hands, I feel comfy with it still. Aesthetically, maybe the other one still I think like looks a little bit cooler, but in use I'm not really noticing too much of a difference myself. All right, well, we're already doing some big stuff, and before I get onion all over the board, I'm gonna break down this melon really quick. What am I gonna do here? What am I gonna do here? Let's do, ooh. This melon has great tension. I do not blame the knife for that. That's kind of wild. You guys ever seen those shorts? Got that little hook knife and they just like touch the melon and it just wants to explode? I've never actually experienced that until just now. I don't know how I'm gonna cut this now. Ooh! My goodness. That is a crispy melon. All right, well. Gotta cut the melon the way the melon wants to be cut, I suppose. You know what, this piece I'll just snack on later. A little weird, it's cool. I personally am going to now do this what you will probably consider the wrong way. But I didn't expect it to go this way either, guys. You know, I gotta say, I had really high hopes. It's pretty mid melon, but I'm still gonna cut it up for you guys. I do acknowledge this is not the most efficient way to cut a melon, but we're gonna get there together. I will say the tip of these guys feels really nice. I'm doing stuff like this and kind of like going around. I know it's gonna feel good on the onion as well, but I did want to get the watermelon out of the way before everything tastes like onion. Worst part of the watermelon tastes like the best part of the cucumber. And then we'll just chunk this up. Put this in the fridge. We'll have snacks this week. Oh, what was I thinking? Leaving all that on there. That fell directly onto the floor. Now, this watermelon is not a particularly difficult thing to cut. Of course, this isn't a great show of the knife's ability, but it is showing me how comfortable the knife is to work around something kind of big and messy. It still feels really nice in my hand. It's obviously going through super easily, but anything would go through watermelon super easily. But it's super comfortable, and I am really enjoying using it. Another bag here. What am I going to use the watermelon for? You might be asking. I will probably just eat most of it, but I do also have some feta in the fridge and a basil plant in my kitchen, so maybe I'll make a little watermelon feta salad. Dare say hit it with some grilled chicken. By grilled, I mean pan-seared because I live in an apartment. All right, let's get to our other half here. I'm going to go ahead and remove the rind before I dice this one up. Bit of a mess there, but overall, knife feels really nice going through. There we go, watermelon. A disappointing watermelon, but a watermelon nonetheless. I'm gonna get cleaned up here, and then we will do some onion, and we will show off the tip on this bad boy. All right, we are back with our onions. Now, I am going to make pickles with these, and normally I would julienne them, but for the video and for you all, I will give them a dice and show off the tip work on these guys, which, not to jinx it, but I've got pretty high hopes for. That was one of the things that I really liked about these guys previously, was that the tip of them felt really nice in contrast with how kind of like, they got that Sanjo style to them, you know, they're tapered, they're a little bit thicker, so they feel heavy, they feel comfortable and confident in the hand. But when a knife like that still performs super well with like a thin killer tip, that's usually when I'm impressed. That's usually what I reach for myself personally. I'm gonna do a red onion as well, mix that in there. Make everything pretty and pink. Yeah, so I know in my heart that I should be talking about the knife, but I want you guys to try these pickles. I'm gonna put these right into my deli. We're gonna do 1-to-1 ratio of white vinegar to water and a 2-to-1 ratio of sugar to salt. So for a big, like 1 liter deli like this, or maybe this is a quart, I don't know. I'll do like 2 heaping tablespoons of sugar, 1 heaping tablespoon of salt. And then I'm just gonna put like a fistful of fresh mint leaves in there. It really is truly one of those things that is better than the sum of its parts, and I want you guys to try it. It's really good on burgers, on grilled meats, anything like that. That felt good. I am going to do the horizontal. You can fight me about it if you want to, but you will not stop me. Yeah, that felt wonderful. That felt really nice. This might be too much onion for my container. I'm not sure yet. Ooh, I'm glad I saved the onions for the end. Just gonna get emotional in here real quick. Yeah, really nice tip performance on this guy. You could see when I was doing kind of like my verticals that the onion wasn't really like flying up with it because it's nice and thin at the tip. This time, no horizontal. Call the cops. This is a juicy onion, and I am immediately crying. Where would I be without my bench scraper? Yeah, that felt great. Again, now I don't want to jinx it. I've got one more half left, but so far, not a single piece did the fly up thing. So very impressed with that. Look at that. Lovely. See, this is why we do the horizontal cut. That is the Hatsukokoro Kurokaze Gyuto, the new version in 215 millimeters. I say new, but they've been like that for like at least a year. I didn't notice the change in the heel height as much as I thought I would. I would argue that I enjoyed this just as much as the previous iterations. They're still nice and thin behind the edge. They've got nice killer tips. I was really impressed when I was doing the onions that no little bits kind of flung up with it. But that is testing out the Hatsukokoro Kurokaze. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you guys want to see us test out next. Until next time, stay sharp.